Assalamu alaikum dear students, and welcome back. Today we will talk about the do's and don'ts of technical and business writing, and this is going to be a very comprehensive and detailed lecture about important tips and important techniques of technical and business writing. And I would like to start the lecture with a quotation by Sir William Osler. And according to Sir William Osler, in science, the credit goes to the man who convinces the world, not to the man to whom the idea first occurs. So this means that the contribution, the intellectual contribution or academic contribution, is not about just having the ideas. It is rather about convincing the world. And how do you convince other people about an idea? Obviously by communicating. And how do you communicate? By writing or by speaking. And this is what involves the technical knowledge of writing and speaking, that basically convince people about your idea in science. So this is a very important thought-provoking quotation. And similarly, according to Robert Gunning, writing is an art. He says that writing is basically an art, but when it is writing to inform, it comes close to being a science as well. Now, the basic difference between art and science is that in art we have freedom to create, whereas in science we have to follow certain principles, we have to follow certain procedures. So as a by default, writing is basically an art. Now you have freedom to write anything if you have the basic understanding or the basic knowledge of a language. You can write anything. But when the purpose of writing is to inform, to educate, to convey a message, so then you need to follow certain techniques, you need to follow certain technicalities. And that is why in sciences or in academic disciplines, instead of just talking about writing, we always talk about the technical writing. This means that technical writing does not only involve writing, it involves certain techniques of writing that we learn from time to time. Now, first of all, we'll have introduction, and in introduction we'll talk about what makes let's start it with a basic question. What do you think? What makes good writing? And what does it take to be a good writer? So these are two questions that I want to pose, and you can write down your answer in the comment box, and I'll be just starting this lecture in the form of these small questions to initiate the discussion, so that we can have discussion as well, and we can learn and explore different aspects of technical and business writing. So what do you think? What makes good writing? What are the qualities of good writing, and what does it take to be a good writer? So the first question is about the good writing, and the second question is about being a good writer. Now, what do you think? What makes a good writing? Um, well, I believe that good writing is basically any writing that communicates an idea clearly and effectively. That writing can be termed or categorized as good writing. And the second important quality of a good writing is that it is elegant and it is stylish. And then when it comes to communicating an idea, okay, now it basically takes having something to say and clear thinking, because you cannot communicate an idea if you don't have it. So this means that before you communicate an idea clearly and effectively, you need to have an idea. And then when you have something to say, in addition to that, you should be having a clear thinking process, a clear mental schema, and then and only then you can communicate an idea clearly and effectively. And as far as the second important quality of good writing is concerned, and that is good writing, it should be elegant and stylish. Now, in order to make your writing elegant means attractive. In order to make your writing elegant and stylish, you need to give it enough time in terms of revision, and you need to be good at editing. You need to be good at removing and adding vocabulary items to your writing in order to make it elegant and stylish. Now, the second question that I asked from you was that what makes a good writer. What do you think? Is it being a good writer? It is something that is inborn. Is it part of inborn talent, or is it because of years of language classes and humanities classes? Is it because of reading, literature that makes a good writer, or writing is basically related to or connected with the artistic nature, or sometimes it is said that the literature, the literary writers, the notable writers, they are addicted to different kind of alcohol, or drugs, or even smoking, or they have this is something that is attached with writing as well. So god forbid, is it because of these drugs, or good writing is connected with divine inspiration? What do you think? So you should at least tell me, what do you think about this phenomenon? And if there is something else you think that makes a good writer, if you think it is hard work, or is it's interest, taking interest in writing, or it is practice, so whatever your understanding about being a good writer is, I would like to know that in the comment box. Now, what makes a good writer? Let's keep the poets and the novelist and the dramatist aside. It is basically having the first thing is that you need to have something to say, you need to have an idea, you need to have a thought to express, and then you need to have logical and clear thinking. And then if you can just learn a few simple learnable rules of style, that basically we are going to discuss in today's class. So then it's that simple. If you have something to say and you're thinking clearly, and you know the basic rules of a language, you can be a good writer. So it's not a rocket science. Now, how much can you improve your writing in one short quarter? The answer is a lot. You may think that oh, it's just one semester, it's just 30 to 35 classes. So what can happen? What can best happen in this semester or in this course? So the answer is that you can learn a lot if you pay attention. Now, in addition to taking this class, other things you can do to become a better writer is that you should read as much as you can, and while you are reading you should pay attention to the material, and then you should try to imitate it, you should try to copy it, you should try to practice it and repeat it. And you should let go of that academic writing habit where you just have a specific boring style of writing, and you are always following that without improving yourself. So you need to basically deprogram yourself. Since you are the students of computer science, related to computer science, so I would say that you need to deprogram yourself. And you need to talk about your research before trying to write about it. You should explore it as much as you can. You should discuss your ideas and your topics, or whatever you think about that. You should be sharing it with your friends, with your classmates, with your teachers, and with the faculty members who taught you. So you should be discussing it a lot before you write it. And then you have to develop a thesaurus habit. You should develop a habit of visiting dictionary, and you should search for the right words rather than setting for the old word. You should be updating yourself in terms of your linguistic knowledge. And then you should respect your audience. You should not try to bore them. And then you should stop waiting for inspiration, like something will happen and then you will start writing, or you will start doing your thing. So you should stop waiting for that, and you should accept the fact that writing is not easy for anyone. Okay, so if you are feeling that writing your research paper or writing your project is getting hard for you, so it's not getting hard for you it's not getting hard only for you. It is a hard task to write something of value, to write something of worth. And then once you write it, you need to revise. You need to do a lot of revisions, because nobody gets it perfect on the first try. And then you should be learning how to cut ruthlessly. You should never become too attached to your words. Sometimes people, they feel very sensitive, and they develop sensitive attachments to their words, and they are not ready to cut them, or they are not ready to edit their drafts. So you should not be rigid. You should not behave rigid about your writings, and you should always be flexible. You should always be welcoming in terms of new words. And then you can find a good editor. You can find a software editor as well, and you can even consult with someone who is really good at English, or who is really good at the target language, and who can help you out in proofreading and in fine tuning and refining your project. And as I said, that you should read, and you should pay attention and imitate. Now, my favorite source of good writing, if I talk about my personal, you can say that readings, it's the New York Timer, the New York Times, and similarly, I mean, if I talk about the Pakistani context, you can read the Dawn newspaper, you can read the Reader Digest, and the Express Tribune, or many of the other. You can, if you have interest in National Geographic, you can go and study their magazines and their weekly and monthly journals. You can explore NASA journals, and many of the other computer science related journals. You can explore them. And you can explore different journals of nature and science. Okay. And you should expect to see examples from the sources throughout this course. Okay. Throughout this lecture, I'll be giving different examples from different subjects. Now, the second thing that I mentioned was that the writing clearly, the clear writing, it starts with clear thinking. Now, before you start writing, okay, now how do you develop the clear thinking abilities? Before you start writing, you need to ask this question to yourself: what am I trying to say? What is it that you are trying to express through that piece of paper? And when you are finished with writing, you need to ask this question to yourself: that have I said it? Have I completely conveyed my message or not? And that's it. These are two simple steps to check whether you are clear about, you have clearly conveyed the message or not. Now, once you know what you're trying to say, then you need to pay attention to your words. Okay. Now, there is a tip for you related to this, is and that is that you need to strip your words to just the words that tell, instead of making the heavyweight and the redundant phrases, incorporating material just for the sake of filling the belly of the pages. You should only use the words that tell. Okay. Now, there is this quotation from William Strong's book, The Element of Style. And according to William Strong, vigorous writing is concise. A sentence should contain no unnecessary words. A paragraph should not contain any unnecessary sentences, for the same reason that a drawing should have no unnecessary lines, and a machine no unnecessary parts. Now, this is a very beautiful analogy. When you paint, you take care of this, that there should not be even one extra line. And similarly, machines, they never have unnecessary parts. Now, this requires not that the writer make all his sentences short, or that he avoid all details and treat his subjects only in outline, but that every word tell. So you should make every word necessary, and every word should have a significant, a clear-cut importance, a quota of currency value in the writing. And then, according to William Zinsser, the secret of good writing is to strip every sentence to its cleanest components. Every word that serves no function, every long word that could be a short word, and every adverb that carries the same meaning that's already in the verb, every passive construction that leaves the reader unsure of who is doing what. These are the 1,001 adulterants that weaken the strength of a sentence, and they usually occur in proportion to the education and rank. So he says that the way your education improves, the way your rank improves, your speech becomes shorter, it becomes brief, and it becomes to the point. Let's have some other examples. This is from a government blackout order in 1942 in the U.S. context. Just look at the statement. Such preparations shall be made as will completely obscure all federal buildings and non-federal buildings occupied by the federal government during an air raid for an for any period of time from visibility by reason of internal or external elimination. Now, Ferdinand, Roosevelt, he was the president at that time, and he said that tell them that in the building where they have to keep the work going to put some access to put something across the windows. Now, this is the simplest and the shortest way of saying something. Now, let's have another example, and that is by George Orwell, that is quoted in Sin and Syntax. That's a book that I'll be sharing with you by the end of the class. Now, according to George Orwell, objective consideration of contemporary phenomena compels the conclusion that success or failure in competitive activities exhibits no tendency to be commensurate with innate capacity, but that a considerable element of the unpredictable must invariably be taken into account. And then there are some other examples, like I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favors to men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. Now, you will be feeling like what quotations I'm reading. You may be having difficulty in making any sense out of those sentences, those quotations. Now, let's have a look at another sentence, and this was the first sentence of a recent scientific article in the Journal of Clinical Oncology in the introduction section. And that is that adoptive cell transfer immunotherapy is based on the ex vivo selection of tumor reactive lymphocytes and their activation and numeral expression before reinfusion to the autologous tumor bearing host. Now, this sentence does not want you to read it on, because you are having a lot of vocabulary that does not make any sense to you. You're not a student of medical sciences, and you do not have any interest in clinical oncology, so this sentence does not make any sense for you. Now, let's say, and that is the final statement from the same article. Current studies in our laboratory are focused on the logistical aspects of generating autologous cell-based patient treatments, the genetic blah blah blah. Now, this is academic writing at its finest. It is, but it is boring, it is unreadable, and it is written to obscure rather than to inform. Instead of giving information, the writer is using a lot of technical vocabulary that is basically hampering, or that is making it difficult for the reader to grasp any message out of that. Now, there is another example. Let's skip these examples and move to the next. Now, how can you make your writing attractive, or how can you make your writing beautiful? Now, the first important thing is obviously the selection of the words. Now, you need to reduce the dead weight words and the phrases, and you need to cut, and you should learn to part with your words. You should learn to say goodbye to some of the words, and then you need to replace them with the better vocabulary. And then you need to be specific, and as far as the sentences are concerned, you should follow the simple rule of the language, and that is the subject verb object. And then you should use strong verbs, and you should avoid turning verbs into the nouns. And then you should eliminate the negatives, and you should be using the positive constructions instead. So let's have a look at some of the words that can be replaced. You know, you need to reduce the dead weight words and the phrases. And how do you do that? You need to get rid of the jargons. Jargon mean the technical vocabulary, and then you should get rid of the repetition. Instead of repeating the words again and again, should come up with new words. Now, verbose is not a synonym for literary. The verbose means verbosity, to exaggerate, to beat around the bush, to use the same words again and again. So that is not a literary style. Okay. Let's have a look at some examples now. Let's say this is a statement: I would like to assert that the author should be considered to be a buffoon. Now you can simply say the author is a buffoon. Instead of I would like to assert that, simple. The author should be considered to be a buffoon. Simply, the author is a buffoon. That's it, right? And let's have a look at another example. For example, the expected prevalence of mental retardation based on the assumption of a normal distribution of intelligence in the population is stated to be theoretically about 2.5%. Now you can simply say, you can simply skip these based on the assumption, and in the population is stated to be. These are the dead weight words. They do not carry any meaning. Okay, they're just making the statement heavy in terms of its vocabulary. Now you can simply say the expected prevalence of mental retardation if intelligence is normally distributed is 2.5%. That's it. All right. Let's have some other examples. To control infection with mycobacterium tuberculosis, robust cell-mediated immune response is necessary, and deficiency in this response predisposes an individual towards active TB. So you can simply say that deficiency in T cell mediated immune system predisposes an individual to active TB, right? Similarly, this paper provides a review of the basic tenets of cancer biology study design using an example as examples studies that illustrate the methodologic challenges or that demonstrate successful solutions to the difficulties inherent in biological research. Now provides a review. No, you can simply say that this paper reviews, and then the reviews cancer biology study design using as example no using example using examples that illustrate challenges and solutions. Okay. Challenges and solutions, simple challenges and solutions. So as you can see that in the first look, all of the words in this sentence appear meaningful, but when you pay attention you come to know that there is a lot that can be trimmed, that can be removed. Now, so you can simply say that this paper reviews cancer biology study design using examples that illustrate specific challenges and solutions. Let's have a look at another example. As it is well known, increased athletic activity has been related to a profile of lower cardiovascular risk, lower blood pressure levels, and improved muscular and cardiorespiratory performance. Now, you can simply say that increased athletic activity is associated with lower cardiovascular risk, lower blood pressure, and improved fitness. That's it. Increased athletic activity is associated with lower cardiovascular risk, lower blood pressure, and improved fitness. All right. Now, or otherwise, you can simply say that increased athletic activity is associated with improved cardiovascular health, right? Or you can use the verbs and say that increased athletic activity reduces cardiovascular risk and improves cardiovascular performance, right? Now, the purpose of telling you all of this is to make you realize that whenever you write, you'll find that a lot of words are unnecessary in the draft. You need to hunt down and cast out. Cast out means throw away, to take them out. You need to hunt down and cast out all unneeded words that might slow your reader. Okay, like the words like very, really, quite, basically, generally. Now these words, they seldom add anything useful. You should try the sentences without them and see if it improves, right? Now similarly, you need to watch out for the verb to be, and similarly there are this is also extra weight. Like for example, when you say that there are many students who like writing, you can simply say that many students like writing. Here there are, that is an extra weight phrase. Now let's have a look at some dead weight phrases. For example, in the event that. Now that is a dead weight phrase. You can simply remove that. Similarly, in the nature of, it has been estimated that, it seems that, the point I am trying to make, what I mean to say is, it may be argued that, for the most part, for the purpose of, in a manner of speaking, in a very real sense, in my opinion, in the case of, in the final analysis, right? Now let's look at some of the clunky phrases and what their equivalents can be. Now instead of saying a majority of, you can simply say most. Instead of saying a number of, you can simply say many. Instead of saying are of the same opinion, like instead of saying that all of the boys are of the same opinion, you can simply say that all the boys agree, right? And at the present moment, instead of saying that at the present moment I am working, you can say that now I am working, right? And by means of, he came by means of public transport, you can say that he came by public transport. And less frequently occurring, this is a less frequently occurring phenomenon, you can say that this is a rare phenomenon. All right. And similarly, all three of the patients are available, you can say that the three patients are available. Fewer in number, you can simply say fewer. And give rise to, you can simply say that cause. In all cases, always. In a position to, can. In close proximity to, you can simply say near. In order to, simply to, right? And you need to be beware of the clunky words that sneak in. You should beware of assistance. You should use the word help. Instead of utilize, you should be using use. Instead of numerous, you should use many. Instead of facilitate, you should use ease. Instead of individual, you can simply say man or woman. Instead of remainder, you can use rest. Instead of using initial, you can use first. And instead of implement, you should use do. And instead of using the word sufficient, you should use enough. Now the purpose is to make your writing as much facilitative and as much cooperative and easy as it is possible. And similarly, instead of using the word attempt, you should use try. Instead of using referred to as, you can use called. And with the possible exception of, you can simply say except. And due to the fact that, because he totally lacked the ability to, you can simply say that he couldn't, he totally lacked the ability to write a paper, you can simply say that he couldn't write a paper. And until such time as, you can simply say until, for the purpose of, simply for. All right. And instead of using investigate, you should use study. Optimum, best, you should use show instead of indicate. Start instead of initiate. Now instead of currently. Help instead of facilitate. Try instead of endeavor. Find out instead of ascertain, right? Now these are the some of the wordy phrases. And then in opposite to that, we will have the to the point phrases. Now instead of saying 3 a.m. in the morning, you can simply say 3 a.m. because the am suggests that you are talking about morning, right? And instead of saying absolutely spectacular, you can simply say spectacular. Instead of saying a person who is honest, you can simply say an honest person. Instead of saying a total of 14 birds, you can simply say 14 birds. Instead of saying biography of her life, you can simply say biography. Instead of saying circle around, you can simply say circle. Instead of saying close proximity, you can simply say proximity. Instead of saying completely unanimous, you can simply say unanimous. Instead of saying consensus of opinion, you can simply say consensus. Instead of saying cooperate together, you can simply say cooperate. Instead of saying each and every, you can simply say each. Instead of saying and result, you can simply say result. And instead of saying he is a man who, you can simply say that. Instead of saying he's a man who works here, you can simply say that he works here. All right. Yeah, then there are some other examples as well, like instead of saying in spite of the fact that, you can simply say although. Instead of saying in the event that, you can simply say that if. Instead of using the word in new innovations, you can simply say innovations. And then you can just stop the lecture and have a look at these words that are mentioned here. All right. And I've listed a lot of examples for you because these are the words that are most commonly used in academic writing. So I thought you should be having a better idea about how to use these words in your academic writing. And you should constantly be on the lookout for extraneous words that crop up like weeds. Okay. And you should ask yourself, is this word or a phrase necessary, or is it extra? And you should then ask this question, then what will happen if I take it out? And most of the time you'll find that you don't need those words, right? So you need to cut, and you need to learn to part with your words, and you should not be afraid of this. Okay. You should be vigilant and ruthless, and after investing much effort to put words on a page, we often find it hard to part with them, to go away with them, to get away with them. So it is a human nature. Once we write something, so we take it as if we own the words, right? But you should fight their seductive pull, and you should try the sentences without the extra words and see how it is better, and how it conveys the same idea with more power. Now, parting with your words, it is very important. Let's say instead of this is a statement: brain injury incident shows 2 peak periods in almost all reports. Rates are the highest in young people and the elderly. So how can you make it more punchy? You can simply say that brain injury incidence peaks in the young and the elderly, right? And you need to be specific. You should prefer the specific to the general, the definite to the vague, and the concrete to the abstract. Okay. And according to Zinsser, some words and phrases, they are blobs. Okay. Now when you say that a period of unfavorable weather set in, that is vague. But when you say that it rained every day for a week, that is specific. And when you say that he showed satisfaction as he took possession of his well-earned reward, this is vague. But when you say that he grinned as he pocketed the coin, that is specific, right? So you need to be specific, and you need to use specific nouns and specific words and specific details. Now, problem, I'm having a problem, or there is a situation, he approached me, or the word method, reaction, component, technique, solution, challenge, difficulty. So these are the vague nouns, right? Similarly, when you say that in proportion as the manners, customs, and amusements of a nation are cruel and barbarous, the regulations of its penal code will be severe. Now the underlined words are vague. How can you be specific? You can say that in proportion as men delight in battles, bullfights, and combats of gladiators, will they punish by hanging, burning, and the rack. Now that is something very specific. And the fourth tip was that you need to follow the subject, verb, object, the structure, which is basically for the active voice. Now we will talk about this in the future classes. For now, you just need you need to keep the following things in your head. That subject, verb, object, subject, verb, object, subject, verb, object, subject, verb, object, or just the subject, verb. So this is the key structure that you can follow in your academic writing. Now let's have a look at the active voice versus passive voice. and we'll see this again and again in the coming slides. Now, in passive voice sentences, the subject is acted upon, whereas the subject does not act, right? And the passive verb is basically a form of verb that we make by adding to be plus the past participle of the main verb. The main verb must be a transitive verb in order to make the passivized verb. Like it should take a love. Like for example, she is loved. Now it evokes the question in our mind that who is loving her. Okay. Now love is basically the past participle of a transitive verb. To love, it requires a direct object, right? And to be is the form of be, right? And she is the direct object of the verb. She is not the subject, since she is not the one doing the loving. She is being loved, right? Now, when you say that President Kennedy was shot in 1963, now shot is the past participle of a transitive verb to shoot, and it requires a direct object. And was is the verb that is the form of be, and President Kennedy is the direct object of the verb. Now, he is not the subject, since he is not the one doing the shooting. In active voice sentence, you can say that Oswald shot President Kennedy in 1963. Now, Oswald is the subject, and President Kennedy becomes the object. Now, in the passive voice, like for example, when you say that the agent is AWOL, AWOL means absent without leave. Mistakes were made. Okay, nobody is responsible. Whereas when you say that the president made mistakes, now here the president, that is the active voice sentence. Similarly, when you say that cigarette ads were designed to appeal especially to children, now that is a passive voice sentence. But when you say that we designed the cigarettes ads to appeal especially to children, so now that is active voice sentence, because here the responsible party is in the light, and that gives more power to the sentence. So you should use strong verbs, and you should avoid turning verbs into nouns. All right. Now this is again something very important. Okay. Okay. Now a sentence uses one main verb to convey its central action, and without that verb, the sentence would collapse. The verb is the engine that drives the sentence. Like a dull, lifeless verb, it slows the sentence down. Whereas the action verbs, they reflect the action they were chosen to describe, and they help bring the reader into the story. Let's compare these two sentences. When you say that loud music came from the speaker embedded in the walls, and the entire arena moved as the hungry crowd got to its feet. Whereas when you say that loudspeaker exploded from speakers embedded in the walls, and the entire arena shook as the hungry crowd leaped to its feet. So exploded, shook, leaped. So these are the strong words, right? Now you need to pick the right word, right verb. Now this is again a statement. The WHO reports that approximately 2/3 of the world's diabetics are found in developing countries, and it estimates that the number of diabetics in these countries will double in the next 25 years. Now, reports, approximately, these are the words which are redundant and which are not required. So you can simply say that the WHO estimates that the 2/3 of the world's diabetes are found in developing countries, and projects and projects that the number of diabetes in the countries will double in the next 25 years, right? Now these two phrases, report and approximately, this all can be summed up in simple word, estimates, right? And you should not kill the verbs and adjectives by turning them into nouns. For example, obtain estimates of, you can simply say that these are the weak verbs. Obtain, has seen an expansion in, provides a methodological methodologic emphasis, or take an assessment of. They're formerly spunky verbs there, and they're transformed into the boring nouns. You can simply say that estimates, has expanded, emphasizes methodology, assesses. Now these are the active verbs. Instead of saying provide a review of, you can simply say review. Instead of saying offer confirmation of, you can simply say that confirm. Make a decision, simply decide. Show a peak, peaks. And then you need to eliminate negatives, and you should use positive constructions instead. Instead of saying that he was not often on time, you should say that he usually came late. Instead of saying she did not think that studying writing was a sensible use of one's time, you should say that she thought studying writing was a waste of time, right? Instead of saying not honest, you should say dishonest. Instead of saying not important, you should say trifling. Instead of saying does not have, you should say lacks. Did not remember, forgot. Did not pay attention to, ignored. Did not have much confidence, distrusted. And did not succeed, this means failed, right? And let's have a recap of today's lecture. You need to reduce deadweight words and phrases. You need to cut, and you should learn to part with your words. And you need to be specific. And you need to follow the subject, verb, and object. Which means you need to write most of your reports and most of your academic assignments in active voice. And you need to use strong verbs, and you need to avoid turning the verbs into nouns. And then you need to eliminate negatives, and you need to use the positive constructions instead. So that's all for today, and we will be continuing our this discussion in the next part as well. And you can find the link of the playlist of the whole course in the comment in the description of this video. And if you have any questions or any experience or anything that you want to add, please do that in the comment box. And if you have any question or confusion, you can leave those questions in the comment box, or otherwise you can ask those questions from me during the class discussion as well. Thank you so much for listening to this first part of this week's contents so actively and attentively. See you in the next class. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.